Good evening, Yorktown, and welcome to the Town Board work session for July 12th, 2022. If everyone could please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Diana, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if we could just bow our heads in a moment of silence and prayer as we give thanks for this day, as we give thanks for our tireless first responders who continue to protect our community, of course, our police officers, our firefighters, our EMTs. We say also on this day a special thanks for our Atomic War veterans as we dedicated the new Atomic War Veteran Memorial Bridge here in the town of Yorktown. We hope that our Atomic War veterans who have sacrificed so much and were exposed to so much in defense of our country are all doing well and are healing from the exposures to nuclear power and nuclear warheads that they were exposed to in defense of freedom in the United States of America. We also keep in our thoughts and prayers tonight, of course, the bravest men and women in the world, those currently serving in the United States Armed Forces, serving overseas or here at home. Thank you.
Amen.
All right, we'll start with introductions. To my right. That would be you, Maura.
You, Maura. Hello, everyone. Maura Weissletter, Deputy Town Clerk.
Tom Diana, Councilman, Deputy Supervisor.
Matt Slater, Town Supervisor.
Ed Lachterman, Councilman.
Sergio Esposito, Councilman.
Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Very
Adam
good.
Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Sorry about that. Just real quick, I know that Councilman Lachterman is going to say something about the bridge as our liaison to our newly formed Veterans Committee, which does great work. I did just want to make sure that residents of Yorktown were aware, and I want to thank our Highway Superintendent, Dave Paganelli, for confirming, but the state DOT has announced that there will be closures on the Taconic State Parkway between exit 11 and exit 13. That's Route 134 and Underhill Avenue. This began today, beginning from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., and it is expected to continue through the month of October. And so I just want to make sure that our residents are aware of that, and I know especially, maybe not so much now, but during the school months and the traffic that always builds up during on the Taconic during those months, you can plan accordingly. But again, it's going down from double lane to single lane, and again, that's between Underhill Avenue and Route 134, so just as you go over the bridge. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Lachterman to discuss the bridge.
Sure, thank you. And I will say the work that they're doing on the Taconic is on the bridge itself, the other bridge.
Right.
So, yes, thank you. So, thank you, Jenna. Today we dedicated the Bridge to Nowhere, as it used to be called, the bridge that links Granite Knolls and Legacy Fields together, that runs over the Taconic, as the Atomic Veterans Memorial Bridge. The law was introduced to the Assembly by Assemblyman Kevin Byrne, and then on the Senate side it was picked up by Senator Pete Harcum, and in a bipartisan manner the bill was passed to honor these veterans. A lot of people don't realize that the government tried to cover up the exposures of nuclear radiation, and actually there was a gag order for decades until Congress finally released the veterans, where they could not talk about anything that they did and the exposures that they had, which prevented this from being recognized.
It was the 90s.
Yes,
96.
96. Yes, that it was the gag order was finally released, and just as a point of reference, I believe that the official end of the atomic era for atomic war veterans was 1966, if I'm not believing, 64 or 66, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a long time where people were exposed. It has been covered up. There have also been serious illnesses linked genetically to some of this, although those are still not recognized. There's a similar battle that our Vietnam vets have with Agent Orange, and the effects of it, as well as the effects genetically that are passed on. Right now, only one effect is recognized as genetic, which is spinal bifida. So we had an atomic war vet. Remind me of Ed's last name again.
Geller.
Sorry.
Ed Geller. Gelner. Gelner.
Gellner. Thank you, Ed Gellner. He spoke at our 2018 Memorial Day parade. He is right now 88-year-old veteran. He spoke about his exposure when he was volunteered, or I think they call it volun-ordered, to be on a ship, and they were all called to deck, asked to face to port, and behind them on starboard they detonated a 96 kiloton bomb. I think it was. It was what, 96? Did he say?
I think it was a 10-ton.
Oh, 10. I'm sorry.
It was
10.
huge.
Yeah, it was big. Basically, the atoll that they
Dedicated.
They
no,
detonated.
Detonated. Thank you. That they detonated on. It's been a long
us,
day.
guys.
We were out in the heat today during this, so. But the atoll that they detonated it on was no longer there afterwards. Let's put it that way. He explained how he saw two suns, the mushroom cloud. Pretty riveting story, and today he did the abbreviated version. So, we just want to make sure we recognize those atomic war veterans. They are still around. Matter of fact, one that came in from Wisconsin today will be celebrating his 100th birthday.
Yep.
In December, on December 4th. So it was pretty impressive. And we do have, courtesy of Assemblyman Byrne, we do have the picture as you go up the Taconic. You may recognize now and see. We have the signage up for the Atomic Veterans Memorial Bridge. So if you see it, that's what it is. And please, when you do see it and you're driving with someone who may not know about it, because even a lot of council people or Assembly and Senate people, when this bill was brought, had no clue about what it was. So please share the story and help keep that memory alive, and make sure that we do not forget the price that people have paid for our country and our freedom.
Thank you, Councilman.
Just one real quick thing. There was a gentleman there named Lincoln. First name was Lincoln. And on the back of his shirt, he was an atomic war veteran. One thing that really was kind of gripping was that the back of his shirt said, "We were wounded by an invisible enemy." And how true it is. They were, the one story that was told was when they were aboard ship, they were told right 10 seconds before the blast, all up on deck, to turn around and don't face it, roll your sleeves down, and pull your white sailor's hats down over your head. That was the only protection those men had. Nothing other. No special garments, nothing. And they're suffering the effects today still from that blast.
Yeah. Two of Lincoln's children died because,
Yes.
and they linked it back to his exposure to nuclear radiation.
That's right.
So it's having a real devastating impact.
Although it still hasn't been recognized as such. Important to say, because that is a fight that is still happening.
All right, so let's go on with our agenda. We've got quite a bit to discuss tonight. We'll start with Guiding Eyes for the Blind. This is a petition for rezoning for 3241 Crampon Road. I know that we've got a great team from Guiding Eyes here, led by Tom Panic, and we've got Jody Cross at the podium, and Joe Rena from Site Design is here as well, so we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and members of the board. And you did my introductions for me, although you did forget Blaze. So Blaze is here to answer
how
any
can I
questions
forget Blaze?
you may have.
Of course.
So we're here tonight on behalf of Guiding Eyes for the Blinds, seeking a zoning text amendment to permit non-commercial kennels in the planned interchange, the IN zoning district. I think My partner David Steinmetz has been here before to introduce this, so I'll try to be brief and just go quickly through this. So as you already know, Guiding Eyes is a nonprofit organization that provides guide dogs for people with vision loss. They do this at no cost to anyone. It's, like I said, not for profit. And the service is in high demand. I was just told that there's a 3-year waiting list. It's a very important service that they offer to the community and surrounds. They're also already an important member of this community. They have their headquarters on Granite Springs Road. They intend to keep that headquarters and just move certain aspects of the operations to the new location. So Guiding Eyes is a contract vendee of a approximately 12.23 acre property in the IN district at 3241 Compound Road, and the site plan is up over here. It's about 2 miles from the existing headquarters. Right now it's owned by Temple Israel, and Temple Israel has previously secured approvals on that property for a synagogue and associated uses, such as a school, event space, and associated parking. And that was never constructed. Right now, the property is unoccupied. I think there's a small vacant building right there now. So Guiding Eyes is looking to redevelop the property to accommodate a training program for approximately 200 dogs. These dogs would be, besides the training programs, there'd be housing, feeding, veterinary services. So its kennels, offices, and veterinary care would be part of that use. This will significantly reduce the number of dogs at the Granite Springs Road location as well. Like now, these dogs are not available to the general public. This isn't a pet store. People can't come in off the street and buy a dog. The veterinary services there are just for the dogs that Guiding Eyes is training, so again, not open to the public. The impacts of this use will be reduced from what was originally approved for the synagogue. There'll be less traffic, less water and sewer demand, less site disturbance as well. And there's, as you can see, there's sufficient parking for the use, for the staff, for the volunteers, and for the people who come in for training. There will not be a significant impact on traffic, and it's also a use that's consistent with the comprehensive plan and the legislative intent of the IN district. It's going to provide a orderly development of the property that's appropriate for this location. But in order to do this, we're here requesting a text amendment. Under your zoning code now, there is a special permit use called horse stables and dog kennels. But it's not a defined use, dog kennels. It's also not permitted in the IN district, which doesn't help us any. So what we're proposing in our petition is a new use category called non-commercial dog kennels. Part of that amendment, Exhibit A to our petition lists what we're proposing, but just to summarize, it's a definition of non-commercial dog kennels. It permits the use in the IN district and would be subject to special permit from the planning board. So we've proposed some, specific criteria for that use. It's a type 1 action under SECRA. So at the time, we will, at the appropriate time, identify all relevant areas of environmental concern, analyze them, and if necessary, mitigate them. So what we're asking for tonight is just that this board accept the petition and refer it to the planning board for its review and consideration, and I guess for a determination on who is going to act as lead agency. I don't know if it's the planning board or this board. And obviously we want to move towards a public hearing and, ultimately adoption of the text amendment. Right. So we ask that the board do that tonight, and we're here to answer any questions. Blaze is happy to answer what you need. And
Looks
thank
ready.
you. He looks ready.
He's tired.
Well, that are bored.
Yeah.
He had a lot of meetings tonight, so if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. Otherwise, thank
Great.
you.
John
Thank you.
Tegeter, you want to come up? John, on this with the zone, with the text change for the zone, were you able to review the proposal?
Yes, I
Okay.
talked with David Steinmetz and
Great.
Jody number of times.
Okay. Any concerns that you may have with what's been proposed?
I don't have any broad concerns with this.
Okay.
As we go through, we'll fine tune it if needed. But so
Okay.
I
And-
generally understand it and basically think it's a okay idea to do it in this manner.
Okay. Great. And thoughts on lead agency?
This board,
That's what I was
just text
thinking.
amendment.
Yep. Right.
No one else.
The well, no, I didn't. Right. Very good there. Questions from the town board?
I don't have any questions for John, no.
I just read the text. I'm comfortable with it.
Have we, you folks have purchased the property at this point in time?
Their contract vendees.
They're in contract.
Contract vendee, okay.
Yep.
So my only question was, I know that when we were looking at the property lines, and I just want to reiterate the point, I know what the answer is. I hope it hasn't changed. There was Signs Inc. was renting, I think, from the current owner a certain portion that they were using for parking or something like that. That will continue for Signs Inc.?
Yes.
Okay. I just don't want, yeah, can you guys step
Yeah,
to the
Jody,
podium?
just step up to the podium, or Tom, one of the
Someone,
two.
anybody. Yeah, I just don't
So
want
Signs
them,
Inc. will remain.
Yes, they will continue using the parking.
Okay.
Yeah, great. I just don't want them impacted, I mean, if it doesn't impact you guys and you guys can work it out, it'd be the neighborly thing to do.
Yes.
Where's the parking that they're renting? Around the back of their building? Is that the way your property comes down?
Can you point to that on
Where's
the?
that?
It's up
Joe.
there. And
Right. Yep. Oh, that little area right there?
It's like a piece of it. The way the line looked, it was almost like just like a small piece
Okay.
of it or something.
So it's right there. Okay.
So you could just faintly see the property line there.
Yeah.
They're totally within this property,
right.
except for the building and,
So the parking area is within there.
Are they paying rent now? Do you know, or
Does Signs Inc. pay rent for
We're
parking?
not aware of any rent, but we're amenable to being a good neighbor and allowing them to use that part of the parcel.
And just for the microphone, we're amenable to allowing them to continue to use it. We're not aware of getting any rent.
fantastic?
Okay.
And so you had mentioned it's just non-commercial, right? It's
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do such wonderful things. I think you guys are a perfect fit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll make a motion to. Do you need a motion to accept the application? Right, but do you need a motion for us to accept the application? I don't think so, right? So we'll make a motion to refer out the proposed text changes to all agencies.
Some second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And I think the way that this should work is that the town board will be lead on the text change, and then you'll be over to the planning board for your site plan.
Okay, great.
Okay? Just to make sure that's what I was trying to get at with John, but just to make sure that they were clear on who's leading on what portion of the dance here, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much.
That was easy.
Blaze, you're good. Did a good job.
You can bring it to all my meetings.
Yeah.
He gets to go home and eat, so.
That's right.
Hey.
Excellent.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's when the lab's
Oh, he
happiest,
wants to
is
see
when he's
John.
eating.
That's right.
We went over to thank John Tegeter. Smart dog.
Okay, let's
So smart.
see. So next we're going to talk about the Jefferson Valley Wireless Facility. Klaus Swimmer, Doug Warden, Robert Gaudioso, please take the podium.
Hi, good evening. My name is Doug Warden. I'm here from the law firm of Snyder & Snyder on behalf of Homeland Towers. The applicant, Robert Gaudioso, could not be here this evening. So as you know, this application involves a 130-foot wireless telecommunications tower on town-owned property. There will be room at the top of the tower for Town of Yorktown non-commercial uses. Most recently, we have submitted revised site plans to show mitigation for tree removal and wetlands based on prior town comments. We have also recently submitted a wetlands report and then SHPO concurrence as well. And for tonight, we're here to respectfully request that the town declare its intent to be lead agency, not declare lead agency, but declare intent and circulate as appropriate to involved agencies. And then we're here to respectfully request that the town also set a public hearing.
Questions from the town board on this application? Something that we've talked about numerous times, and we've had the wireless master plan exercise that we went through that showed a clear need for more infrastructure, wireless infrastructure in the town of Yorktown. I know that you're also looking at Granite Springs Road still. I know that's a more complicated property, but that's still in your sights as well on the eastern side of town. Excellent, because I know that was one of the areas where we said we had a significant capacity deficiency based off of the master plan that we saw. And if you drive around the neighborhood, everyone tells you the same thing. So,
Yes.
The last time when you
Right,
folks
right,
were
Lou.
here, I had a question and I didn't get an answer to it. Now, part of that whole negotiation was, I believe, 35% of the gross income of that tower. What are those numbers?
We had submitted relatively recently, I think a chart that had a breakdown, a year by year at 5. I don't have that in front of me. 5 years, 10 years, based on the number of carriers. I think they're hoping
I didn't
for
see
4
that.
carriers. So forgive me that I don't have that in front of me, but
let me
that-
see if I can.
It's part of the record right now. I may be able to dig it out if, or if the supervisor has it at his fingertips.
So now you said while he's digging that up, there is a portion of the tower that's going to be dedicated to the town, our first responders.
The topmost level, the best level. I mean, the top is always best because this is all line of sight technology, right? And so
Correct.
the higher up you are, the better your signal will likely propagate.
And just to clarify for the
Sure,
public,
release.
that's at no cost to the town or our first responders or anything like that, correct?
That is my understanding, right, Klaus? That is correct. Yeah.
And that would be also that's an FCC regulation, if I'm not mistaken, that the cell tower or tower companies, I shouldn't say cell tower companies have to provide that, isn't that?
No, absolutely not. It's something that Homeland.
Can you just step to the podium for me?
Klaus Wimmer with Homeland Towers, the project manager. No, that's not.
It's not correct?
FCC
Okay.
requirement. That is something that Homeland Towers offers as part of working with the municipality.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the town board?
No, I mean, this is where we're at, I mean, without this, you can't do everything else. So, you need towers. It's a necessary thing. It's a necessary evil, some might say. I don't have any other questions.
You comfortable moving forward?
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Okay. Then we can proceed. We have a resolution. I want to make sure I'm reading the right one because I know Adam sends a second. Just bear with me for 2 seconds here. Here we go. All right. Whereas the town board seeks to enter into a lease agreement with Homeland Towers LLC for the construction of a wireless telecommunications facility at Hill Boulevard, Jefferson Valley, and whereas the agreement would constitute alienation of parkland and requires the New York State Legislature's permission, and whereas the town board intends to act as lead agency under SECRA, and whereas the applicants will need a wetlands permit from the town. Therefore, be it resolved that the town board declares its intent to act as lead agency under SECRA, and be it further resolved, the town board formally requests the enactment of a parkland alienation bill by the New York State Legislature, and be it further resolved, the town board authorizes the town supervisor to request assignment of a bill number by the New York State Legislature and execute all necessary documentation to formally request the enactment of a parkland alienation bill, including the municipal information form required by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. And be it further resolved that the town board, upon signature of the town supervisor, authorizes the town clerk to forward copies of the aforementioned documents to all necessary entities and individuals. And be it further resolved, the town clerk is authorized to refer out and schedule a public hearing for a wetland permit. You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Very good. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry. Well, first of all, thank you all very much. And second, as far as scheduling the public hearing, will that take place this evening?
Can you,
Well, we've got a lot of paperwork to do before that. You've got 2 on the 19th. Well, it's not going to be the 19th. We have 1 on the 26th. I don't know if that's going to be enough time.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think we can
schedule it tonight.
have a definitive date for you tonight, but maybe what we can do is add a resolution on next week
Yeah, because I have to see
with
how
a
much
specific
paperwork
date,
has
so
to
this
go
way you
out.
have it for your records.
And the other dates you're indicating are already full up, is that?
We're getting full, and I'm not quite sure how much paperwork is going to have to be forwarded before we can set the date.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. And then for the, what date next week will you be formally setting the date? What?
So
we can
figure on the 19th we'll have a resolution on the agenda on the agenda to pass, which would specify the date for the public hearing.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your help.
All right.
Thank you.
Consideration.
Very good. Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Okay. Next up, we have Dan Welsh with a Westchester Power update. I feel like it's a Sports Center special.
Dan is back.
I just emailed
I got you.
supervisor, so
Yep.
good. We're up there. Look at that.
Now, I just want to make sure you don't have anybody on Zoom waiting for us, do you?
No.
I thought originally we were going to do this Zoom.
No, since I was out on the road already down in Greenberg,
Perfect.
and I wasn't going to be able to get back to somewhere to Zoom it, I figured
Perfect.
I'd just rush over here. So
It's Victor, probably.
appreciate you.
Let's see here. Give me 2 seconds. He's making sure. It's okay.
How you been?
Oh my gosh, we're
Busy?
We're really busy. we're out, getting 24 municipalities signed up, and
Fantastic.
getting them all lined up is still more of an art than a science for
Right.
sure. And the schedules, it's like it's crazy.
Everything's
but
so
they're all coming together, and we're ready to go out to bid now.
Very good. When is the deadline for the bid, right? Because
So
it's
you're
October, I think you
anticipating
said?
all the slides here, but we were targeting.
Sorry.
Yeah, we were targeting Friday, but we're gonna let it slip to the next week.
I'll let you do your thing then.
So you can go. I'm Dan Welsh. I'm with Sustainable Westchester. You can go to the next slide. And so we're here to give you an update on the program, what's going on in the NYSEG and the Con Ed service territories as far as the program's concerned, and then look at the Yorktown timeline and the status there, and then we can discuss where to go from there. So next slide. And we can skip over it quickly. Sustainable Westchester, municipal nonprofit, provides services to all these municipalities, and the Westchester Power Program is a collective energy supply program that provides renewable energy, rate stability through fixed rates, and a platform for additional community investments. Talked about that before, and
Sorry, was I supposed to go on the next slide?
yeah. You're excellent. The key features, it's an opt-out format, so it becomes the default supply for community. Anyone can opt out at any time, but if you don't take action, you become a participant. Next. You can go through all the bullets here. Yeah. And also the flip side of that is consumer friendly because of the fact that you can opt out at any time. So if ever you feel like there's a better place to be, or the rate's going a different direction, or whatever, you can always opt out. We always include 2 supply options. Obviously, renewable energy is the target, but we do have the standard supply option, which is a regular grid supply, which is slightly cheaper, and some people need to be there, and so we want to make sure they can get there if they need to. It is a fixed rate program, so we can't guarantee savings against the utilities, but we lean on our competitive bidding processes for that. Next. And you guys have seen these graphs before, where they're updated for the latest movements on the rates, and they continue to be extremely volatile, and the pressures are still there. So this is the Con Ed rate graph. You can flip to the next one. And NYSEG took a little dip, but it's back up again this month at around 11 cents. So there's
Up to 11?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you can see.
Well,
that
yeah, you can
it's
see
been,
it.
It's
Yep.
been there,
Yep.
and then usually this is you can't tell on any given month because of whenever like the hedges
Yeah.
refresh and things like that. So you get
Gotcha.
some weirdness in
So
there.
you guys are steady at
With yellow and red are.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
at 10,
right.
10-2 for the renewable in the NYSEG territory. So that's a question right there, and again we'll get to sort of how we coordinate relative to that. So we can go to the next slide. And again, this is the big target, is trying to reduce our greenhouse gas and the impact there. Next slide. So on the status, I'd messaged the supervisor that the program on the Con Ed side was going into a hiatus because we went out twice for bids this year so far, and each time we had set a target, and the market blew past it, and so we didn't have authorization to proceed. And by the time we finished that second run, the timing is such that we are not going to have a continuous contract. So everybody dropped out as of June 30th, and we are now getting ready for the next bid attempt. So
when's the next bid attempt going to be?
So it was scheduled for Friday. We're going to let it slip till the next week, just to give everybody a chance to get ready, get the data ready for them and all that. So it's probably going to be like Wednesday or so.
Okay.
And with all the steps that come after it, this would be building up to a November 1st re-enrollment for the
Con Ed
folks
customers.
on the Canada side. The Yonkers and the NYSEG people remain. They're in contracts till next year. So
Right.
they're fine.
So for the folks that were enrolled in this and the contract expired, they automatically defaulted back to Con Ed.
To Con Ed, we anticipated that and sent them a mailer because all they get from Con Ed is like, you're being switched back to Con Ed, a little
right.
simple thing. So
Right.
we sent them all the background on everything.
Con Ed's very articulate. They are just fantastic. But anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, so they automatically got put back into Con Ed.
That's right. And, the letter says, why this happened and then, like, what to look for going forward, that as we try to put this together, they would get another notification letter, as they always do, which will set out the timing of the next contract and everything. So, but in order to sort of respond and deal with the volatility of the rates, because where things are today, you try to set a target, and then go through a month of getting people signed off on that. By the time you get to the other end of that, the market is some other place.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did, and this was actually at the suggestion of one of the town administrators, was swap out the price not to exceed language for sort of standard municipal purchasing language, which is the lowest responsive bid.
Good.
So we've done that, and everybody's signed off except Greenberg's going to finish next week, and I'm going to Rye tomorrow, but everybody's signed off on the new. And Nick's at Sleepy Hollow tonight.
Okay.
So next slide. And this is just to remind that our longer-term goals are still to move to this a newer procurement format, which will allow us to also reach into the wholesale market. Remember, we described that before, and to bring that in as part of our toolkit. Still working on that, as you can imagine. There's a lot of pieces to put together for that. So right now we're going out sort of standard procedure. It's going to be a 1 to 3 year contract. And whereas we were in the beginning of the year, we were looking for a short-term contract because we figured let's try to push out and see if things settle out. Now, if you look out in the futures, things settle out a bit. Near term is still crazy, like the winter months are terrible. So we were thinking better off to reach out, grab some of that, and average it out and give people a little break. So it's basically kind of a standard solicitation that we're doing now. Next contract. Or next slide. And this you've seen before. It's just an indication of where the market was. What's interesting, though, is subsequent to that last bar, there was actually a dip, and we're hoping we might grab a little bit of it. The dip was not one of a long-term making, but short-term, because one of the major LNG, liquid natural gas processing plants that is the last stop before exports has shut down. Had a big problem, and it's not due to start up again till the end of the year. Because they're not able to export to the higher price markets, and it's coming back internally, and it's driving the price down a bit. So we're hoping maybe that's a little lucky thing where, okay, it's down, the plant goes back up, and we're actually in good position. But one never knows. But
Okay.
that's what's going on there. Next. Again, with the timing as it is today and this bid, we would be looking for a November first start, and we're working on that right now. And of course, all the regular processes that we have talked about before in terms of the notification, the post-award information sessions and such will follow an award should that come next week. Next slide. And the NYSEG side, again, that contract is up and running since March, looking pretty good right now. The question is going to be whether or not there's some opportunity for Yorktown to actually slide into that contract, or we're going for it. I think I just anticipated the next slides, but this is just to, again, do a little update. We did finish our compliance level outreach. We submitted that, submitted your law and sample notification letter, and we're waiting now for the Department of Public Service to.
We haven't heard back yet.
Not yet, but when that comes back, that would mean you're now positioned to sign a contract should one, or a situation arise.
Would we be able to participate in the Con Ed contract?
So that's the question of timing. Again, either there's a, if they come back in the next day or two with that approval, then in theory, the problem is I got another Con Ed step. I tried to tweak Con Ed and see if they would give me the data early, and they're like, no, we're waiting for your approval. But if I can get that from them, give that to the bidders, they include it. It's a kind of a long shot. Let's go forward. Maybe, we finished compliance. Okay, go forward on this, and it's right here. So that's the the first sub bullet there is a stretch scenario. The next logical step is if the market hasn't, if you are only in position to do it a couple days after, and the market hasn't gone bonkers in those couple of days, it may very, very well be that the supplier will say, okay, we can sign you on, so you're just a couple of days late. And then lastly, if there's a gap and the market moves and they throw up their hands, then maybe we're talking about a separate bid. And the same thing with NYSEG, which will be the next slide. Well, actually, this is just another view of the timeline and everything, and that scenario one stretch scenario depends on what's going on in the middle there with the bids versus your approvals. Next slide. Right. So on the NYSEG side, the likelihood is also fairly low. Again, that contract was, it was solicited out in the fall, and even though it doesn't sound like an amazing rate at 10.2 cents, it's hanging in there better than NYSEG rates these days.
Mm-hmm.
And can the supplier just pull you in? I don't know. I made that inquiry with them, and we'll see where that.
What's the NYSEG rate right now?
10.2 cents for the renewable.
Right, but what's the actual if you were just a NYSEG customer?
Let's see. I think we had that chart up there, but it's been over that since then. It's going way
I think
back.
you said it was 11 cents.
Yeah.
You're at 11. So you were. So
yeah,
in theory,
been,
then you're so NYSEG customers then if it's at 11, you're at 10.2. You're saving money.
Yeah, we're saving a little.
That's on the renewable side.
Little money, and that's on the renewable.
Yeah.
And,
Great.
Yeah. So knock on wood, it's looking pretty good right now.
Great.
So that would be the question on the NYSEG side. Could we slide you in? And if that doesn't work out, then maybe we're having a bidding scenario where we're calling for bids for both sides for Yorktown. They'd be separate. Submissions, obviously, different conditions, different, the capacity tag information, everything is different. So there's always have different rates, but that would be the next scenario.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what I have next year. That could be almost it. Those approvals, purchase status. We saw that. We looked at that. We looked at that. Yeah. So really, the message is moving parts right now. The current Con Ed solicitation. We're going to keep you up to date on that. That's a matter of the next week. The inquiry about the NYSEG rates, waiting for the approvals to come through, and then we'll come back to you with all these pieces.
Okay.
And we'll discuss on how where to.
So we're almost at the finish line.
We are right there.
Right
Good
where we
luck on
hope to be.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that typical that you get to the end of whatever negotiated rate you have with whatever company it is, right? A, B, Con Ed, NYSEG, whatever, that you don't have a already negotiated rate that kicks in, you know, one ends at 11:59 on Monday, the other one kicks in at 12, a.m. on Tuesday.
It's
Is that
not-
a typical thing?
No, it's not typical. We normally do. It's only in this past year when rates started going unpredictably wild.
Yeah,
So
everything
the
goes
first
right.
time it happened to us was in the NYSEG territory, where last summer we went through one shot. We missed that price to not exceed, and then we missed our deadlines because of all the compliance stuff that lines up afterwards. You know, if you miss it, you miss it, and people are dropping out, and that's just the way it is. You know, so that was the first time, and that was before Ukraine and all this, right? But the rates were heading up because the exports. So here we go. We get started this year with Con Ed. We have that stuff going on, and then all of a sudden Ukraine and all this. So
No, I understand.
two runs out. So it is not typical, but now the world is not typical.
Yeah,
No,
tell
that
me
is-
about it.
energy, so.
That's a very honest comment.
So honestly, like the future is probably this sleeving mechanism is going to give us a way to go out and not have to commit ourselves for the entire load. We can go out for portions and hedge, a third, and like keep rolling. So we're never kind of so far out that we miss our shot or whatever.
Right.
So
So just two more
that's
questions.
yeah. Please,
So-
is there any you want?
So typically, the negotiated rate, is it a typical like 2-year period, 3-year period, 1-year period? It varies because everything's a train wreck right now. What is it?
Yeah, it varies. We have had anywhere from 1 to 3 years.
Okay.
And so when we solicit the bids, we ask for all those different terms, and we kind of look at where's the
Figure out what the best
sweet
price
spot is.
That's
Yeah.
the right way to do it.
Yep.
So last question, speaking about negotiated rates, and just for clarity for the public, if I am I'm getting my delivery from Con Ed or NYSEG, but I've negotiated a rate with some third-party company, because there's many companies out there that are doing all of this,
Yep.
they are not touched, because they are technically not, we're only opting in Con Ed or NYSEG customers.
That's right. We won't even get their data. They don't
That's what you said last time.
qualify as
Right.
eligible customers. They could, on the other hand, opt in if they looked at it and they decide, hey, this is better than I'm at, and maybe they don't they're near the end of their contract or something like that, but they wouldn't be automatically included.
And Dan, for the
Thank you.
listening public out there, could you just go through the opt-in, opt-out criteria, how that works and so forth? Only because I've been asked questions about it, and I said, you
Right.
can opt in, you can opt out,
Right.
you can opt back in, you can opt back out. I said, but there's some variances there that
Yep.
take place.
Let's
So
see if I can cover all the scenarios. First of all, there's the concept of the eligible customer, and that would be anybody. We just talked about people who are already in a third-party supply with an ESCO, so they would be out. Also, the anybody who is on the energy assistance programs, because they have separate subsidies and all that through the state, they're excluded from this. The only way we could supply them is if we guarantee them savings, which we are looking to do through the community solar, opt-out community solar. That's a future thing. But for the electric supply, they would be excluded too. So what's left is the anybody who's not in that situation and is a so-called small consumer, which is residential, and then there's a small commercial, which are like your sort of mom and pop scale, same scale as residential. Their usage hasn't gone up to where they are using a demand meter and different rate schedules. So those are eligible, and any eligible customers, the utility will give us the mailing list. Then we go out with a mailer. The opt-out letter gives them all the information. Here's this is the rates, and it's the supplier will be so and so, and you have 30 days during which time you can, if you decide this is not for you, you can get in touch with us, either call us or there's a web form. Of course, there's always a web option, and then they'll also have a card which they can fill out and stick in the mailbox. So any medium that's comfortable for them, they can call to either opt out, or they could switch supply if they decide, hey, I need to be in the standard supply, and same thing, they can get in touch with us for that. And the so-called 30 days is just to say, if within that 30 days you don't opt out, you'll end up rolling in, but you can still opt out at any time. So this just means if you opt out within 30 days, you will never have been enrolled. And enrolling and de-enrolling is not instantaneous, not today, because there's just a time lag that in terms of enrolling with the utility, and you're always in the middle of a meter read date, and those changes happen on the meter read date. So there's a little lag, but you can do that at any time, though.
Okay.
It's a billing cycle,
You're right.
which is what we discussed, right?
Yep.
I just think it's important for residents to know. Obviously, Con Ed had a rate increase. NYSEG has filed a rate increase now as well. I spoke with some NYSEG execs yesterday, and it's quite substantial. And so it just makes a lot of sense, I think, for us to be looking and moving in this direction because we have a strength of numbers. And if we're able to save just a little bit on the overall while also doing our part to reduce our carbon footprint and our greenhouse gas emissions, I think it just makes a lot of sense in a
And
lot
we don't know
of
what's-
ways.
We don't know what's coming.
Right.
It's just wild out there. So, and if we do end up being a penny more or something, then people, if they don't
Right.
think that's worth the renewable thing or whatever,
Then they can opt out.
Can always opt
They can
out.
always
So
opt
we
out.
wanna make sure everybody understands how everything works.
Right.
They could opt out, or they could opt for standard, because your
That's right.
standard
Right.
might still be very well. Like, what is your
That's right.
standard now? Your
Oh,
standard looks
Yeah,
significantly
and like
lower.
in NYSEG, it's I think 8.6 or something like
Right.
that, and so that's looking very good.
Yeah, I mean, here's your standard right here,
Yeah.
right? So people can
Yeah,
drop
it's
down,
7.4.
and right now NYSEG's average is at 9.9, right?
For the current contract so far.
Right.
Who's that dip? Yeah.
Yeah, so you there's plenty of options. I mean, this is a a very good choice that we could provide, for our community. I mean, I really don't see a downside to it.
Sure.
The only downside that I do see is, and I think you've covered it, is education and awareness. And if we get that piece done, it's a home run.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
So-
And I think you guys are prepared to do that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're continuing that. We finished the compliance requirement, but we want to continue to liaise, and so we're
Sure.
going to be talking to the library.
Great.
And, I'm going to the EV show concert
Yep,
thing this
yep.
weekend, and
We'll be there too. What do you know?
trying to get around and get in front of people, and at some point, hopefully, it becomes known, and then
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's the energy program, and there'll be social media stuff that'll go back and forth, and
It
well,
will help too on our end, of course.
yeah, and right, and certainly like when you see things in social media, I hope you forward them on to us so that we can help
Right.
your answers and things like that, because there can be discussions going off in some corner somewhere that can head in weird directions
Yep.
sometimes. As we will know.
Really?
Not on social
Not on
media.
social
no,
media.
stop.
Come on. Oh, I don't have
Hashtag
any.
research.
I heard sometimes.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, thanks. We appreciate it. We look forward to hearing next steps.
Yep.
Then DPS gives us the approval, and then you can come back and give us your suggestions and recommendations on how we can
We'll
proceed.
be hearing from us.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. All right, and that's our Westchester Power update in full compliance and moving forward. Next, we will bring back Joe Rena. I don't know if he's here.
Yes.
And I believe we have Michael Grace of Grace & Grace Law Firm regarding the proposed code amendments for the boutique hotel special use permit.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening,
How are you
Michael.
all? Hello. You all look well tanned.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Yeah, I got to actually, I'm gonna while you're here, I'm gonna give you one on this end of the table. You can familiarize yourself with the project is going to be.
This I gotta say.
It's beautiful.
This is exciting.
Anyhow, so this is a project that's been kicking around. My client is very anxious to get going on it. You, in your wisdom, believe that it was best to include this property in the overlay zone. and the use of a boutique hotel, which has not appeared in the code prior to, was then put into the overlay zone as an allowable use. However, there were no parameters of what a boutique hotel was, what it needed to do, what the restrictions, bulk and area requirements were going to be, setbacks, etc. So we wanted to my client wanted to get started on this, and there is some urgency. And by that I mean, I think it's imperative to understand what it is to do business.
Can I show one of these pictures on the camera?
Absolutely.
Hey, Tommy, can you zoom in on this?
So,
Show the rooftop.
The rooftop bar?
yeah.
Hold on a second. Show
But
it back.
my client
Hold it a little longer.
doesn't do anything in half-ass, I suppose. You know, he does it all first.
We admire your honesty.
First class. Well, he is. He just does.
Can I make a reservation?
He,
I want to make a reservation right now.
There might
It's a
be
rooftop bar.
There might be height restrictions on the.
Ha! I won't retaliate.
I
think
know.
I'm
I'm
cruel
not.
to you.
I love you, buddy. But
No, it's beautiful.
it's actually he's. So anyhow, getting back to it, essentially, it's a great project. I know the last time we were here, there was a little chatter in the social media about why would you have a hotel in Yorktown, and my retort to that is why wouldn't you? Why have we given up and raised a white flag on Yorktown as being a destination area? That's like what we wanted to have it become. And besides that, even when I was supervisor, there was constantly people asking where places to stay when they had weddings, family reunions, etc. So this really does fit the bill. We don't need a major hotel. We don't need a very large hotel in town, but a boutique hotel would be a perfect fit. And you have someone willing to make a very substantial investment in the town. So I think it's an opportunity that we should all seize. We actually drafted up the area and bulk requirements and the restrictions and the parameters for a boutique hotel. I know it's been reviewed by the planning board and went out for referral. We are asking that it just be put down for public hearing. At that point, we can vet whatever other concerns there may be. I think the only thing that we left kind of up in the air was the signage. And that's always a problematic thing, but I think if you just allow the planning board to deal with the signage and the property owner who's got a compelling interest to make a very nice project and an attractive one, he'll do the right thing as far as that goes. But if you have any questions as to the parameters that we set, we'd be more than willing to
One thing I can
address
say is
them.
that Jack does do a nice job on whatever he does generally, and just looking at the prospectus there, it looks beautiful.
No, look, there's no question about it. I mean, if you've been to his other places, you've seen the kind of workmanship that he's done.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. The thing is, it's something new for the town, and it's certainly going to be something that doesn't, does nothing in the code that would necessarily accommodate it. So you have to change the code. But I think this is where you are. You're at the cusp of either conceding that you're not going to move forward with downtown Yorktown, and you're going to start to do the things that create a future for the town.
You know, Mr. Grace, I've seen some of the comments. I've heard some of the negativity, and I find it ironic. I know for a couple of times I'd spent, as Mr. Tegeter would say, too much time with him going around looking at sites for possible hotels that are in town, because it has been an interest. And, like you said, there are people in the negativity to give up on Yorktown as a destination when we have so many great things. We have our farms, we have our orchards, we have golf, we have recreation all around. Hopefully soon, a very clean Lake Mohegan, as they're working on that. Just if, and I hate to put it this way, but if someone thinks that Yorktown is that horrible of a place, leave. Because we can make Yorktown an even greater destination than it is.
Yeah, and you have to start somewhere. The thing is that it starts to become contagious, and I can speak from my own experience. way back 20-something years ago when I bought the Grace Building, and that was run down. It was overgrown. There was a tree going through the front porch. It was like a knockdown. We made the investment to make a historical restoration, being true to the history of the building. And I think what you end up having, you had Labriola follow suit. And so what went on the old Labriola property mimicked that, and what went behind our building now with the Claremont mimicked against that architecture. And you're starting to recreate what is a very presentable downtown. And you do have demand for this stuff. So you have to start somewhere. You have to make that leap of faith. To me, this is simple. We just need to set it up for a public hearing. You get the public comments. We'll be more than happy to address all the comments that come our way. Even with the naysayers, I think that we all need to make that leap of faith. But again, this is just to go through the parameters of the area and bulk requirements, the number of rooms, the restrictions on them, the stay restrictions. We went through some of this before. We have I think it's a 15-day restriction. We have 15 nights. We have a total of 25 rooms, which is more than that's going to be there. And to be, totally what they call transparent. Obviously, a zoning code can't get too much into the operational aspects of a business. As far as controlling stays and and stuff like that, you just have to take it on faith that the operator is going to properly operate their business, just like if you let any other business come in, you can't dictate who they hire, how they hire, when they stay open, when they don't stay open, that type of thing. But you control it with the physical plant, and I think this does all that for you.
We did hear back from DEP. DEP. Did you have a copy of the comments that?
No, but I'm sure that they're benign.
So yeah, well, DEP, their issues that were raised would all be addressed for specific site plan approval as part of the secret process. The planning board discussed it back in January. Their only comment was they noted Section 2B3 should be clarified to ensure there are no cooking facilities in the individual hotel rooms, that the board has no other comments. The county planning board said this was a local matter and to advise them what the town's decision was. I want to come back to the zoning board. Conservation board determined that there is no negative environmental impacts to amending the code for this type of special use and had no objection. And the town's advisory board on architecture and community appearance reviewed it as well, and they have no objections to the proposed amendment. The zoning board, and John Taggart, I don't know, did you review these? Adam, did you see the zoning board comments?
I did.
You did? So the zoning board had a couple of comments. I think they're more technical, and I think there's things that we can be addressed at the appropriate time, just from a wordsmithing standpoint. But there were questions about definition of what qualifies as luxury, as opposed to any other type of hotel. They also raised a question that I think I've raised as well when we initially heard it, which is about the 15 consecutive nights. Is it 15 consecutive nights or during a given period? That was one of the things that they had questioned.
Yeah, and this is where to be, I'm completely honest with what you can do and can't do, and you can check with your attorney. Is that it's very difficult, and we had this kind of stuff with. You're going to mention the sober house, okay? Because that we're, for different reasons. But when you get into the operational aspects of a business, you have very limited ability to control it. So the thing is that you hope that the legislation becomes the sort of the incentive to follow what that rule is, because the truth of the matter is, how would you enforce it anyhow? How would you practically, from a code enforcement level, ensure that somebody's only staying there 15 days? To me, it's somewhat that I think we put it in there to emphasize that it is a hotel, temporary housing type of thing, and is a deterrent for longer stays.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, I don't know how you would control it otherwise. And sometimes when you put that kind of language in there, it raises issues that aren't really issues.
Mm-hmm.
And that becomes the problem, because you just all of a sudden decide that, well, that was what some of the comments. Well, how do we know it's not going to be what? If you have a building that is developed and constructed towards a very temporary, stays, it will just generate temporary stays. You have and this is the whole idea behind the other things that are included in the project, which is the rooftop bar, the top, kind of a tapas, restaurant type thing. The lounge. It's very conducive to nothing but very short stays, and that's how I've always said this even as an attorney, municipal attorney, you control operation by controlling physical plant. And so they don't have to constantly police the operational aspects of a business, and that became one of the issues: is how do we keep an eye on Big Brother on something like was the sober house, which never ever been a problem after all these years. But the idea is that you can't. I don't want to go on. It's very difficult to do, so. The language is there to create the parameters of good faith that's what will happen. And so to try to tweak it, make it stronger, to do all those, you're fighting something. You're trying to nail jello to
Exercise
the
in
wall.
futility.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes
No,
down
but
to.
HOAs do it all the time, where like you can't rent out your condo longer than 2 weeks because it's long-term stay, and it's just mentioned and it's just honored, and that's it. One of the best things about this, which I'm sure Supervisor Slater's like probably brewing in his ear, is like the $1.2 million that we're putting into the Yorktown stage. The fact that in Westchester County we do not have a stage, this allows us to come back to the map. This doesn't only create a destination Y. This allows us a place where someone can have an anniversary and spend the night, or celebrate an event, or go away with their friend and stay local. Because staycations, let's just face it, the way that the economy is going, are more popular than ever. And bringing this to light, is going to create the movement. And with a 25 room turning the tables, I'm hoping they're booked every single night, that long-term stay is probably the least of our habit. However, having it in the law longer than 2 weeks is just noted, because the truth is anything beyond 2 weeks, you just go into legal problems, and that's just not manageable.
The other thing is he's only 16 rooms anyhow, so
Yeah.
Oh, even less.
yeah. So it's
60, not 25.
I thought it was 20.
We don't need to see
well,
25 on
the
Facebook.
upper
later.
limit was set at 20.
I was hoping for 25.
But
Try to bring in more people.
But to Luciana's point, I mean, if we're looking to create the downtown, the walkable downtown, we're looking to create something that we attractive. You're looking to create incentive for other investment, because it's in an area where there's potential for lots of investment. You have you have the old Mitchell's Hardware building, which has potential on it, also for redevelopment, for something. And this is what you want.
But
You
the
want to
uses will
generate
be
a
there,
buzz.
right? Like you can get quick tapas, go watch a great show, spend the night, wake up, use the track, take a shower, and go on home. And you did it just in Yorktown.
Michael,
Commerce
the
Street.
height restriction. I know there was an
Yeah, I
issue
think
with
we-
that.
I think
Was
we're-
that
we're-
rectified?
We're okay with everything. I mean, we kind of, to be truthful, we customized the code to meet that. So we're going to be in front of the planning board as well. There are some architectural treatments to the building that have been proposed. They have to go through review, but they will be able to be accomplished under these parameters. The issue became that you've attached it to the overlay zone, which allows some flexibility. And so with that flexibility, we're okay. I know there's pending litigation with the overlay zone, but we hope that we can get this through before that litigation wraps itself up one way or the
Well,
other.
are we able to set a date on the public hearing?
Yeah, 8/2 we can do.
We can do August 2nd? All right, so we'll make a motion is,
Do we have the meeting August 2nd? I thought
I know.
we haven't moved it yet.
It's the last.
No, it's not. It's the last 2 weeks
Yeah.
of August,
Right.
right?
yeah, but we
Right.
were talking about bypassing it.
Is there any way we can do it in the last one in July?
We're gonna have to change.
Change.
We published. Hold on. I'd have to.
Because
look at the
that's,
organization.
Well, no, I'm just saying, can we do?
Upside
What
out.
were we scheduled to not have?
No. You're right
Yeah,
about the last 2 weeks. I'm asking, can we? Because I think there's some. I think the town board has to have a discussion about the meeting on the 2nd, because it conflicts with National Night Out.
Oh.
So, but for this particular thing, can we?
Set
Is there
to
any chance we
26th?
can set it for the 26th?
No, it's a chapter 300. I won't have time to advertise. I don't have enough days.
it's just a textual
Still a
amendment.
chapter 300.
Yeah, but it's not as. All right.
Nope. sorry.
Come on, Maura.
Nice
I'm
try.
trying to go-
You're
tough.
No, if it's chapter 300, I cannot.
I think you have to do the second.
Well, it's not really, we're not, well,
Change our meeting date to the 3rd.
because actually, we're not rezoning, we're just actually changing the text.
National Night Out. Did the police look for that? Huh? No, we didn't cancel it. We talked about it. We never done it.
We could cancel, move to the 3rd.
The National Night Out.
No, National
that's
Night
not
Out
Night
is
Out.
Oh, we
on
could just have the
second.
meeting
It's
on
always the
Wednesday.
second.
Yeah, it's the first Tuesday. But we can move it to that Wednesday if we all agree.
I'd appreciate it. If you can get it in early August, that would be wonderful. I really would be.
Any thoughts? August, about moving the meeting to August 3rd?
Moving the meeting that's totally up to you, to another night. But I
What
just
do you
have
guys
to have
think?
that time.
You guys okay moving the
Make
meeting
it
to the
earlier.
3rd?
So let's move forward. We'll move our meeting to Wednesday the 3rd, and then we'll put them on the agenda for the public
Well, I
hearing.
need a resolution to move the meeting.
We're going to make a motion to move the meeting that's scheduled for
August 2nd.
Tuesday, August 2nd, and we will move it to Wednesday, August 3rd, beginning at 7 p.m. So we'll make a motion.
So
So,
moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then we'll make a motion to set the public hearing for Wednesday, August 3rd.
I love Wednesdays.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I think you're doing, it's going to be marvelous for the town if we can get it done. I'm going to grab my books back.
I want that book. I like it.
You have the other one.
What? Oh, it's not mine.
All right. Moving on, we're going to bring Jim Moderano up,
I leave them in the office.
Parks and Rec Superintendent, to discuss the skate park. Jimmy,
Yes.
what's going on, buddy?
Some exciting news. Since I've been here, I've really been eyeing the skate park. It was built about 12 years ago. It's right here by Town Hall. And there's certain ramps that definitely need to be switched out. And obviously those pieces of equipment are pretty expensive. So I've been purchasing the underneath protective layer. It's like a yellow kind of foam. And the wood that goes over the top of the ramps. So we're ready to fix up the skate park for the first time since we constructed the park. But the issue is it's going to take a considerable amount of time and effort to get this park back to 100%. And we don't know what we're going to find when we do start working on it as far as the structure itself as we're taking it apart. We're going to be doing the project in stages, and it looks like it's probably going to take up to a month. But if there's any setbacks, it could take even longer. We wanted to start possibly this summer, but after talking to the skate park liaison, Brian Weiss.
Right, we met with him.
Yes, we think altogether that we should probably wait until the fall. This way we're not taking the most prime time for the skateboarders away from them. And if we could just wait till probably once school starts, we could probably get this project going. And if there's any delay, you're kind of wasting the later part of the year opposed to the prime time part of the year. So that's kind of the game plan going forward.
Do we have a time frame?
It's at least a month.
No. As to when you're planning on, because you need a stage, you need to prep,
Correct,
you need
correct.
to get.
We're looking to shut the park down after Labor Day, and it will remain shut till at least the first week of October.
So for the month of September.
Correct.
So just reassure people out there that it is not unsafe. It's just time.
The
right?
skateboarders have been skating on it without any issue for the past 12 years. So at this point, when we talk to different skaters, they don't feel unsafe on that piece of equipment, but it certainly could use some repairs and some freshening up for sure.
So Jim, we're not closing it down in October like we spoke with at the Parks and Rec meeting?
We could aim for October a little bit later if you wanted to. After Labor Day would be the earliest I'd want to get on it. So, if that's what the town board wants to do, we could certainly go.
I was under the impression we were doing it at the end of August.
I was aiming for after Labor Day, but end of August could work as well, if that's what we want.
But I was under the impression that the skateboarders could use it for August into September, and then as of October, because September's a rainy month, so not a lot of work's going to get done in September. And then in October, we could shut it down and then work October, November, so then it would just be closed and reopened for the new season.
Yeah, I'm warm to really any suggestion. I just do know that it could take a month, and it could be delayed quite some time if we find other issues underneath the structure itself.
Yeah, because you have to unbolt it.
I think what'll set the time is the let's say quality of damage. So I mean, are all the ramps entirely skatable at this moment?
They are currently skatable.
All of it. There's not like a spot here or there. where
There's
they're
a
gonna
couple
trip up?
spots on certain ramps that kids have been avoiding,
They know how to avoid them.
but those current ramps are still being used.
And I
So
think
the
that
kids know how to avoid the
Yeah,
spots
I've
that are
watched
bad?
it.
Jim, if I could make a suggestion, you had a plan for the end of the summer. I would stick to it. It
Yeah.
gives you the availability to, if there are any issues that are going to move the
And
project.
end of the summer works for us. We can get right on top of it.
I think Labor Day.
Yeah, I mean, when we went out there and we met with the skate park liaison, I mean, I felt comfortable with late August into
he
Labor
specifically
Day.
said that the skate park, everyone that skates is going to be happy just the fact that they're
Right.
getting.
Did you double check with Barry after the meeting?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Barry's able to do it. He's willing and able to do it right now if we wanted him to do
Several
it.
conversations
Yeah,
with different dates.
yeah. So he's willing to do it right now if he wanted to.
I'm saying after we spoke about delaying it for October, did you call Barry and verify with Barry that?
He can do it at any time. He can start now. He can start in October. That's kind of what I thought we'd be here to discuss. Exactly when we'd want to shut the park down for a month.
But are you sure that the end of August is going to be okay with having to close the pools and all that other stuff? I thought we talked about like it's just a really busy park time.
It will. It's a different mechanic that would specialize in this. That would be doing this job. Scott Ferreira.
So Labor Day is the 5th. So let's pick a date, right? So this.
Well, no. I don't think we should just arbitrarily pick a date. We need to know. I think you need to check on your side, on the staffing side, that you're able to manage.
I'm very aware of the staffing side. We would take our playground specialist, Scott Ferreira, and he would be the lead on this job.
How about we
That's
do
kind of right up his alley.
How about we do this? How about we pick a
We
date?
have pool mechanics that handle the pools, and
I'm aware.
Yeah, I know. I'm
But it just seems like there were
just
several.
explaining it to the town board.
So
I
hold on a
understand,
second,
but it
hold on a
just seems like there were several conversations that are being had with different dates, and it's getting a little
second.
frustrating.
You're looking at Labor Day. So Labor Day is Monday the 5th. So if we hypothetically say you're going to start work on Monday the 6th, you could check on that because that's what the supervisor's suggesting. It's a great suggestion. And then you could get back to us with a definitive answer that you're going to have the staffing and everything like that. Is that fair? Or do you want to do the week before in August? Just let's put a date on the calendar, and then Jim will go out and get all the information that he needs, and then get back to us and say, yeah, that's totally doable.
I mean,
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
that,
I-
that,
We're
that
going
is the
around
goal.
on, is it going to be August? It's going to be the 3rd week of September. Is it going to be the 1st week of October? Is it going to be yesterday? Is it going to be next month? You want late August, or you want the day after Labor Day?
I respect what you're saying. I just know that we have a population that uses that skate park. And I thought after multiple discussions that we were going to take it in the fall because
I wasn't part of those conversations. So the conversation that I had with Jim and the liaison at the skate park was the last week of August, which Barry greatly appreciated because originally we were talking about doing it sooner, but he needed the extra manpower to help manage the facilities that are in play
Right now.
which is prime time, which
Correct.
is obviously our pools and making sure that we're doing all the maintenance work that needs to get done.
Correct.
Okay,
So-
but right now we know that the skate parks are going to get redone. So right now this is like mainly about the safety enhancements. They're going to get done.
Yes.
And but when they're going to get done
That's what,
is going to be the open question.
And to let the public know, and I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there that are parents of skateboarders that unfortunately at some point we will have to shut this park down for at least a month.
it is what it is.
You know, the
No,
public-
listen,
the
it's
public
great
needs
that
to
you've
know.
gotten us to this point. Now it's just purely execution. It's great that the skaters feel comfortable and are looking forward to any improvement at the park after 12 years. It's clearly due. But I just think that we need to all get on the same page with what the plan exactly is from a timing perspective so that we can make sure that we're informing the public about what the plan moving forward.
There's another element of this job as well, which we were also going to do in parallel steps, is to enhance Patriot Park as well, that we'd like to do on parallel steps. So,
That's the ramp.
John, do you have an update on that for me? The paving? The path?
I don't have an update.
No?
so that's another aspect of this job as well that we like to run in parallel tracks with.
So then you got to get. I mean, honestly, my concern is it's going to complicate the matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Because now you're bringing in 2 more departments. I would just stay focused on your skate park.
No problem. Yeah.
But the accessibility committee can then work on that other ramp to Patriot, right? And then deal with that later?
The ramp for Patriots being headed up by our planning department and our highway department, and so this has been something that's been on the burners now for 2 years, 3 years.
Too long.
How long?
4 years more.
15 years. Yeah, even better. So,
okay. I
so-
thought maybe with the new committee that we created, that would be a great input.
This is a completely separate project that's been on the docket for a while that John's been trying to get done. We're nearing the finish line. It should be done this year.
But we should be excited about that part of Town Hall being a very beautiful part of this town.
Yeah, it's all positive. Let's just get all on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
So do you want me to report back with the physical
Why
date?
don't you come back with us with a full plan?
Okay.
Timeline. Here's when it's going to start. Here's what we're going to exactly be doing. Here's what I know you're using Scott Ferreira because he's great.
Yeah.
Right. So he's the only guy that you're going to need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'll have a team with him.
Okay.
On this job, it's not going to be. It's not a one-man job.
Yep.
And that's why we're going to be shutting down this park for a month.
Right.
Okay. And the schedule would be there's 3 portions of the skate park, so we do one portion at a time in sections. So the ramp comes apart in sections, so we'd be fixing one part of the ramp at a time in sections. So it maintains the structure of the unit.
Yep.
So that's in essence what the schedule is going to be over the month. Do I know exactly how long it's going to take per section? We have to do a few sections before we kind of figure that out.
Yeah, there's going to
So
be tons of unforeseen.
we do know it's going to be about a month. Could it be a week earlier? Maybe. Could it be a couple weeks later? Probably as well.
No, I understand that, but I think you got to come back
I
to
don't
us
have
with
a
a
true
definitive,
timeframe. Yep.
timeline, definitive start date. Obviously, making sure that you've got everything you need, both from a manpower standpoint and an equipment standpoint. I'm sure you're gonna have to bring some machinery over as well, right?
I would imagine so.
Right, so
it depends on how the job goes.
Right, but I think even to start, you got to flip over the.
Not necessarily. It depends on which piece of the equipment we're fixing. Obviously, there's some areas in which that it's hard to get to.
Yeah,
on the
I
skate
thought the
park,
way you
yeah.
explained it to me, unless I was really off that
No, yeah,
day,
you're on.
is that you flip it over because you have to get up and underneath
Yep.
In the
to
whole
get the
area.
bolts.
Yeah.
The thought process is either putting it on the side or just lifting it
Right.
to a certain height.
Right.
After looking
And
at
I
it.
know I know Scott's really strong, but I don't
Yeah.
think he can flip it by
'Cause
himself.
if we do flip it, we're worried about the integrity of the
Right.
Of the ramp
Of course.
itself. So possibly lifting it and getting it kind of on anchors.
Can you do that with like a high-low or something? Like, how would you do it?
We might have to borrow some equipment. but,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
part
Like,
of the plan.
get all that packaged for us.
Is that something that you want to do in another work session, or is that something we can do?
No, I don't
No,
think
I don't think you need to come back in a work session, but just make sure
Yeah.
that you're communicating it directly with the boards. This way, we know what's going on. But I think the key here is that we're finally at a position to upgrade the skate park.
Yep.
Which is a great thing. You know, this goes in line with a lot of the safety enhancements we've made at our playgrounds.
Absolutely.
So, we're continuing that effort over at the skate park as well, and we're looking forward to seeing that get off the ground.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if there's areas that are being avoided intentionally, I think the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So we got a few dates that we tossed around. I think that we were. pretty much-
I'll take a harder look at the schedule and talk to the chairman of the commission as well as my foreman, and give you a strong list of dates in which we'll be starting this project.
Yeah, this way you can get it on the calendar, put it out on the website, get it out to the folks out there so they know this is
Exactly.
close.
I think that's where it starts here tonight, of the messaging to the public of exactly what we're doing, and we're going to be shutting this part down, unfortunately, for a month.
Perfect.
All set.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for your time.
Appreciate
Jim.
it, man.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
All right, Phil Greeley. We're talking Halleck's Mill Road. I see we have one of our residents there. They are chomping at the bit. I heard from John McDonald as well. And so people are excited about this. They want to hear what you got planned and what you're thinking. So why don't you? I know you and I had a conversation, but I thought it was important that you come to the board and give a presentation to the board.
And
Good evening.
Phil, I do like the Goose Gossage look you got going.
Thank you. I wish I could pitch like he did.
Many people.
I wish a lot of the guys on the team could pitch like
There
he
you go.
could.
That was it. Good evening, everyone. Philip Greeley, Colliers Engineering. There are really kind of three components that we're looking at. You have either end of Halleck's Mill Road and then what goes on Halleck's Mill Road itself. So last year, we had prepared an evaluation that looked at really 6 alternatives or 6 options of what could be done on Halleck's Mill to further reduce traffic volumes, slow traffic down volumes, and each of those options were looked at in terms of negatives, positives, what it would do. They range from making it one way east to west, west to east, partial closures, dead ending of certain portions of it. So those options were looked at with all the pros and cons. And what our recommendation was of those options would be to take the most viable options and maybe do like a test run, like a partial closure. So for example, I think one of the options was to close the road except for emergency vehicles and school buses to the east of Laurel Court. So basically, Hamlin, Laurel Court, McBride, Girard, and Halleck's Mill would be kind of a confined neighborhood with no through traffic, because you wouldn't be able to get out to 202.
We're getting applause.
Okay. So that was one option. So basically, from Ridge Street up to a point to the east of Laurel Court, it would be no through traffic. So the few residents that are in that section would access to and from either Ridge or out to 35 at that end. Another option was to do a partial closure and make from Laurel Court, make pieces one way eastbound, one way westbound to cut down on it. Anything that involved making the road a one-way roadway for its entirety had really negative effects, because if I lived on Girard Court and I made Halleck's Mill one way from the Ridge Street end out to Crown Pond Road, well, how would I get into Girard Court? I have to go all the way around, or I have to cut through Hamlin Street. So we laid out each of those.
Yep.
To me, the one to probably start with would be the closure, the closure to except for emergency vehicles and school buses east of Laurel, and that would really be kind of the worst case in terms of getting all traffic off, but you'd overload the traffic at the Triangle intersection. So you can see what the effect is, but that would be the most extreme case. If that was done, then the need to do any improvements at either end of those roadways would be lessened. The second thing that we discussed was looking at Crown Pond Road between Baldwin Road intersection and Halleck's Mill, what should be done there.
Correct.
And it was talk, what if we put a left turn lane in? Well, if you put a left turn lane in, you probably even get more people that are going to cut through.
Right.
We talked about evaluating at Baldwin Road, maybe eliminating the channelized movement there and creating more of a controlled intersection, because people tend to come up Baldwin Road, make the right turn onto Crown Pond, and then a quick left onto Halleck's Mill. When that happens, you also have your through traffic coming through there. So I forget what the accident history was, but there are a lot of near misses that do occur there. So that component would really look at that section just to see what could be done to cut down on that conflict. Because as you use that channelized right off of Baldwin, it helps traffic flow, but people that don't yield or are making that quick left onto Halleck's Mill creates a start and a stop in a very short distance.
Yeah.
And then the third component was to really look at what could be done at Ridge Street and that end in terms of an intersection improvement, because making a left turn off of there onto Ridge Street or coming back up onto Halleck's Mill can be very problematic.
Yep.
And the same thing for anybody coming down Ridge Street wanting to go out east. again,
See it all the time
very
in the morning,
difficult.
especially during
So
rush
we
hour, yeah.
looked at a possibility maybe of doing at least conceptually a layout of a roundabout and see what land would be required to do something like that. And then that would give some ideas that could then be pursued and pushed forward with the state DOT. It's a state road. I mean, the state should have some responsibility, but
They have
you've
to
got
get
to
all
you
their
have to get them
responsibility.
you have to get them to a point where there's something that they're going to really get
Yeah.
their teeth into. So those are the kind of the three components. Again, I should have recirculated our memo from May of 2021, which I will do, but that gave the options. And my feeling is you want to go with one of the partial options, maybe do it on a temporary basis. We could work with the highway superintendent.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
See
ask.
how it functions. You know, one of the things that I think Dave Paganelli has a real, feeling about this, the amount of cut-through traffic, a lot of it is not from the town.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
there is some from the town, but it's
He's
a lot
done
of
his own
Connecticut
traffic study
plates,
on
and
it.
he's looked at it also. So, but again, you have to realize that it's going to put more volume at the triangle intersection,
Right.
which it'll reduce the traffic in the neighborhood, but it will create additional loading at that intersection.
Right. The piece that I'm most, as much as I know that's a priority of ours, the piece that I'm most interested in, though, is looking at the conceptuals for the two ends.
Yes.
Because to your point, they're not our roads, meaning the 202 and 35. They're state roads, but the states,
Right.
they're not. We all know this, and you know this better than anybody when it comes to New York State DOT. Right? They're not very user friendly, especially when we go to them hat in hand saying, "Hey, can you help us out?" We've done it. How many calls have you and I been on with them?
Many.
Yeah, asking them for help because all of our major arteries in town are all state roads. So we want to make improvements to them,
Correct.
but we need their buy-in, and they start every conversation with "bank's closed."
Yes.
So, so I think it makes sense to have the conceptuals done so that we can go and show that, hey, we're trying to be honest partners here. We've invested something to
Yes.
give you some concepts, but really this is your road.
Right, and get them to pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I because I don't know how else we can get them to respond at this point because their response from these improvements and our request for these improvements have been minimal.
Yeah, their response is, well, it's your roads. It's
Their response is we're not paying for it.
right, and because it's assisting our roads, and all they really care about is their straight through paths. It's interesting, yeah. And they work at a glacier speed.
Oh yeah. I'm well aware. But yeah, so those two were the ones that really I thought were, I think, good investments for us to make, and really helped set a stage for us to go back to DOT.
Right.
In order to try to persuade them further to really engaging on these two state roads because
Yes.
we just need them. We can't do anything without them.
Correct.
And Phil, would just a question that had come to me, would DOT let us put like a no left-hand turn onto Halleck's Mills from?
Yeah, that would be part of what they would look at is the traffic volumes, some of the information that we already compiled, some concepts in terms of what you would do at the intersections geometrically, and would they allow it after evaluating it? Yes, they would take it all into effect. But let's say you put a no left turn onto Halleck's Mill Road. Well, the problem is, where are people going to go? They're going to turn onto Hamlet.
Right, which you don't want to force.
But you don't want to do that. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword, is what it is. And then the other alternate is, I think what the supervisor is saying is let's focus on the end, see what we can do, show that to DOT, get their buy-in, and maybe we can use that to spearhead them refocusing on the triangle intersection. Again, there were certain concepts that were developed to improve that intersection.
They were great with the Roma
and part of the correct, and it needed land, from the Roma property.
Right.
Part of the land from the Wyant property is almost finished with state DOT in terms of the dedication. So that piece is already in action. But the critical piece is near the Roma building.
Right, it's
Yeah.
the four corners.
Be able to upgrade that, yes.
So can't you put forgive me, can't you put a second stop sign on where Hamblin is? So this way you're going to force them to go there, but they can't go that way anyway? And this would be a temporary thing, right? This would be as a test.
Yes. So if there's two things. One is, if you put in a no left turn sign, okay, which it was the question. But the temporaries, you could try each of the temporaries. If DOT is going to allow you to put a no left turn sign, they're going to want to be more of a permanent, although I think we could convince them, similar to like when you do a work zone traffic control, a diverting plan. That's how we would probably present it to DOT to try it on an interim basis, because you don't know whether that's what you really want, because you want to see what the actual effect is if you implement it.
That particular road there, no matter what, the first scenarios, no matter what we did, someone was going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
There was just not much you could do there.
Yeah.
The latter portion of our conversation here tonight was, I think, the more gripping approach,
Right.
Of being able to actually
Of dealing with the two ends.
dealing with the two ends.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the way to go.
Just so we can start getting some conceptual work, and like I said, get DOT
That's
more
the way to go,
engaged.
because the whole left turn, it's just going to create more of, it'll resolve some and create some. It's not.
Correct.
It's
It's
going to be.
dominant,
It's
yeah.
not going to be any. There's not going to be a net gain anywhere.
Right.
All right.
Comfortable? Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it.
Any other questions for Dr. Phil? No? Adam, do we need a resolution authorizing me to sign the client authorization form for Collier's Engineering and Design?
Yes.
Okay. Then why don't we make a motion authorizing the supervisor to sign the client authorization form for the Halleck's Mill Road traffic evaluation?
So
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Just one question.
Yes.
At one point, when we were talking about the intersection of the Roma building, we also talked about a roundabout there also,
That's
right?
correct.
I know that would be some land taking, et cetera, et cetera. Because of the size.
My recollection of the roundabout, it acquired some land taking on the other side also, near where Putnam County Savings Bank is also. But part of the problem was we were pushing the capacity of a single lane roundabout.
Yeah.
That was part of the issue, and the state had just started looking at that. They hadn't made a decision one way or the other, but that was really the issue.
Yeah.
Because you're reaching the volume level where you need like a multi-lane roundabout, and then you start taking more land.
Yeah.
So the signalized option made more sense, getting the extra lane for the right turn movement, and then carrying the lane up past Pizza and Pasta to have left turns out of the through movements.
And then I think part of it was we were closing off some of the entry and exit points of the Roma building.
Absolutely.
Because there's like
the
of them.
cut through. Yeah, there was
People cut right
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch.
Oh yeah.
correct.
And they go bombing through when they want to jump the light.
Yep.
And I can't believe I haven't seen an accident there. Yeah.
And then the next portion of that was to kind of continue that idea of a turn lane as you continue down past Triangle Center and at Maple Hill Street, and so.
We authorized a resolution to sign the client authorization form.
Client authorization form?
Yeah, we authorized supervisor to sign.
Okay, vote, what was the,
It was a motion. I think you did the second.
Tommy motion.
Thank you.
second.
Second.
And it was
Okay.
unanimous. All right.
And I'll circulate that other previous
can
memo
recirculate
just
it.
so that everybody
Yep.
can revisit.
And I just
that
ask again that we just cue in our highway superintendent, who I know is
Yeah,
watching.
yep.
Doing a great job for us. So if you could just make sure
Absolutely.
that he's brought into the fold, so that
Yeah,
he's included any
we'll
decision.
sit down with Dave and get that all
That'd be great.
squared away. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Phil.
Night.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.
Speaking of roads, not you, Phil. Speaking of roads, a portion of East Main Street over in Shrub Oak was paved today. Just beware that it is not marked as of yet. So it is.
Lines, right? There's no line.
There's no lines
Yeah.
on it yet. So it's pretty dark. So just
Yeah.
be careful.
Got it. All right.
The ride's nice and smooth.
Good. I'm glad they're doing a good job. Susan?
I've been waiting patiently.
kiosks at the now it's the newly Atomic War Veterans Bridge.
I'll just shorten it and say Taconic Bridge, if you don't mind. I don't know who was there on that bridge, who saw. The issue is there are 2 kiosks. When the state made the bridge, they put kiosks on either side, and they had some very interesting displays about the history of the Taconic Parkway. And I sent you an email, but here's, I just turn this over and just circulate this down.
Thank you.
There are a series of 13 maps that talk about the history, and then they have different segments. Unfortunately, if you've been on the bridge, you've seen that the sun has faded the display, and they are totally unreadable.
Yeah,
right?
hold on, I think I got, if I can pull it up.
And DOT in prior communications that Yorktown Trailtown has had with the DOT is, we did our job, now it's your responsibility. All right?
Yep, basically.
And Matt, you and Luciano, we were just informally chatting after one board meeting about this, and you asked the Yorktown Trailtown to look into what would be involved, and we would like to see the signs redone. I mean, the kiosks are in great shape, but we feel that we'd like to work with the town, and this is, you were there, you said you were taking
Yeah, so this is, so you can see, like, this is what they have up there on the kiosks, and it's really cool stuff, and it really, historically, I think it really does justice for, but you can see, like, look at the bottom, look at, like, down here.
Yeah.
I mean, it is completely...
And that's the better one.
Literally.
Right, and this is, there's 2, but it's completely faded.
Yeah, because the sun, the way the kiosks were positioned, it was the sun. And it is possible, to, if anything is reproduced, to do it on different material that is more sun resistant. Not totally, so let's talk maybe 8 to 10 years. We can live with that.
Right. Now, I think you were going to talk with Jonathan about some design work, some ideas. Do we have anything like that?
Well, Jonathan Nettlefield, one of our Trailtown Committee members who does sign work throughout the Hudson Valley for different municipalities, this is very, very rough estimates, okay? He said to reproduce something, just the manufacturing end, he ballparked at $1,000 each, which is not very major. The big issue becomes the preparing the artwork, and that is the unknown. And it's unknown for 2 reasons. One, the town would have the option of selecting what goes into the kiosk, so we can reproduce exactly what's there, or
We could revise it.
We could revise it and put some local content. And when Jonathan and I were before the Rec Commission last week, the Rec Commission likes the idea of redoing them, but they would like to see some local content about local trails, because across the bridge, I think as you mentioned before when you were talking about the commemoration of the bridge, it's a link between Woodlands, Granite Knolls, and Sylvan Glen. All right? And we're trying to promote that, and some of the signs that the Yorktown Trailtown has just put up promotes this, and this makes Yorktown a destination, and it brings people for a wonderful, wonderful hike. So the design is the unknown. We also don't know the quality of the PDF files that we have access to, whether they can be used or some graphics person has to manipulate it. Again, very rough numbers. We're talking possibly a total cost of somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. Jonathan said probably much less than $10,000, but we don't know. No, total. Total. So we're not talking.
Let's not get wild.
Yeah.
We're not talking big dollars.
They're
And
not gold.
Tom made an interesting comment because he was at the Rec Commission last week that the company, and we can't remember the name,
Tracer.
we don't even know whether they do this kind of work. But so what we would like to have the town board consider now is, one, do you think that the signs should be redone? All right. And if so, will you consider this a town project with the town costs? Because Yorktown Trailtown, we've been fundraising for all of our projects, and we need a rest for a while. And we don't think that this is major. The Parks Department the Rec Commission is very interested in doing this, but their budget is strained to the limits. All right, so it would come from the town, from the fund balance, $23 million. Maybe you could find, $8,000 possibly. I know that you have a lot of demands for funds, but if you think this is a worthwhile project, so I think the first thing I think needs to be done is to form a little subcommittee with, say, a representative from the town board, the Rec Commission, Jim Martirano, somebody from Trailtown Committee, to talk about the content, what we'd like, and then get better cost estimates, come up with a plan. This is what we would put on the 2 kiosks.
Mm-hmm.
And then the town board, we would come back to the town board, present that to you, and then you would make a decision whether to go ahead or not.
Based on
you
the
can't spend money without knowing what you
exactly.
spend money for.
No, and I think that's worth the due diligence for sure.
No, I think the subcommittee makes sense. I just think that it's important to keep in mind that we have a limited budget.
I understand that, this
So
probably...
I don't mind investing in it, but it's not an open checkbook.
Believe me, as former supervisor, I
You
know.
understand that better than anybody.
Yeah, the number can't go from 1,000 to 100,000. We can't play that game.
I know that.
Why not? You know that better than anybody.
At this
So.
point,
spoke last night at the planning board meeting. You said it was somewhere between 10 and 20.
no.
You didn't say that?
I was at the planning board last night. No, I didn't speak at the planning board. At the informal conversation I had with you. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
I was just confused.
I was shocked she wasn't at the planning
I
board.
was questioning myself. But anyway, all right. So we need a firm number, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think the way to do it, though, is I think that actually makes sense. Is let's get some. Anyone want to volunteer to be on the committee? Lou, you're the liaison to Parks and Rec.
Yep, I can do it.
So why don't we? So we'll get Lou. We'll get Jimmy. If you can talk to Commissioner Talbert and see if he can lend us someone, that would be good. And then you guys can have a conversation.
And then
you can come back to us with some concrete numbers, ideas, and we'll go down that road.
Yeah, there is. This could conceivably qualify for a Hudson River Valley grant.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be an option. Trailtown has. You can't apply for new grants until you've completed all the paperwork for another.
Right.
We have been
Yep.
very diligent in doing that. I think there might be a residual issue with a town grant that hasn't been clarified.
Right.
So it's a question about who would be the applicant.
We can explore those things, but let's get a subcommittee going to
Yep.
give us some details and
Great.
some concrete direction. But I think it's I've been over there a ton of times, and it's such a beautiful
Spot.
connection, right? And then you come across this outdated and faded
embarrassing.
piece, and it doesn't reflect well on the community. So I think we can definitely enhance it. That's okay.
We should also try to include the new name of the bridge in it, so maybe some information.
Yeah,
about
it'd be great to include the Atomic War veterans to give them some exposure. Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah.
I hope not.
We'd have to take a look at what's available and then what we want to put in for the town, because we're trying to promote the trails, because the trails bring in outsiders who then go for a hike and then they go to a local restaurant.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of possibilities with this. It is a tourist attraction.
Oh, there's no question.
The trails, especially in Yorktown, 40 miles of trails. We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
I know we're talking mostly amongst ourselves, but I don't think people really recognize and sometimes appreciate what's been created here. So it would be a great addition to that entire system.
Yeah. We need a vision, a plan.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll form the
look forward
committee.
to
We'll
hearing-
work
yep.
with Luciana, and
Yep.
and
Work with Lou.
we'll come back to you at some point.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Susan.
Just one other thing. I think one of your top priorities is see if you have the PDF and so forth on these that maybe we can give to a company, let's say Tracer, and say, hey, look, can you do anything with this or not? Because they make those high-end signs. I think it was for Disney and I forget who else. Kodak.
Yeah.
So maybe we check into that and see if we still have.
When we get to this point, that's when the committee will come back to you and say, we have talked to potential graphics, firms, and they can use this or they can't use this. And when we do, obviously, new content will require new design work.
Sure.
I mean, and from the different signs that the Yorktown Trailtown has done, like the most recent, trailhead markers, that's one of our biggest costs. The design costs more to prepare than the actual manufacture of the sign.
But to be quite honest, if you're here now and you're in the middle of trying to plan on redoing it, revitalizing it, reviving it, you might as well incorporate and include something different. Now would be the opportunity
That's
to
right, yeah.
update it. So I don't see making the same sign and putting the same sign back on. I see you utilizing the content from the current design, absolutely. But you might as well revamp it while you're there. I mean, if you're going to do
think
it,
so.
do it right.
Make it more
robust
relevant. Make
signage, I
it
think.
more relevant and more attractive for people coming to Yorktown. Yeah,
No, but if
absolutely.
you're not going to do it now, it's going to be 10, 12 years, right? That's what you said.
Okay.
So you might as well update it, yeah.
Do you think we need more robust signage?
Robust.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and last but not least, we wanted to discuss with the board adding. There's some technical on the agenda, but adding Chapter 95 to the town code, which would give the town board and our volunteer boards the ability to hold virtual meetings. There are very strict parameters about how that would be able to be performed. There would have to be a quorum physically present in the town boardroom, I believe. Correct, Maura? And so in case someone falls ill, in case there's an emergency that they're not able to physically be at the town board meeting, it gives us the cover to do that. This was allowed to be done under the executive orders that were issued by the governor, but we want to make sure that we're making sure that we're protecting ourselves as a town, but also our sub boards, to give everyone clarity and understanding how they can go about doing this. So, I'd like to ask the board for its consideration to refer out internally. I think we just need to do it internally,
Absolutely.
and then we can.
I don't see a problem with that.
I don't either. I think it's a good idea because sometimes if we have an emergency meeting, sometimes everybody can't be here. If we could have it virtually, well, let's say the quorum will be here, but one or two people are out, at least you can get it done.
And listen, like right now, the COVID numbers are going back up again, especially in the city. And who knows what it's going to be like in the fall. That's something that I think we need to be cognizant about. But in case someone is unable to be at a meeting, they can still participate.
Yeah, or if anybody just doesn't feel good that day, forget about COVID. I would
Right.
like you to keep your germs to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, Sergio had that a couple weeks ago. You
Yeah,
had
he didn't have
laryngitis.
COVID, but he had.
I had laryngitis. I got tested for COVID. I didn't have a cold. I went to the doctor. I was perfectly fine. I just couldn't speak. And I got to tell you, if I walked into this town board meeting sounding the way I sounded 2 weeks ago,
We
you'd
would
have
all
a
be
mass
sick.
exodus.
Right.
So I went remote.
Right, exactly. But I just think it's important for us to have something in the code.
No,
So
absolutely.
this way, there's pure clarity on it.
And there's also an
Everyone
understanding on how video conference local law goes and how to behave and all of that.
Sergio, it was a very quiet meeting.
We got through
with
it pretty
you
quick.
with laryngitis.
I was still here. It definitely was not quiet, Sergio. Don't worry.
It was pretty quick. All right, so
Luciana
we
covered
can
me.
refer out.
No
and
way.
you want to set the public hearing?
For July 26th.
And we'll do the public hearing for July 26th. Okay.
Sounds good.
So
Great.
moved.
We have a motion.
Motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. And with that, we have some resolutions that we will read in. Adam, for the resolution regarding Old Crampon, are we good with that, or how do you want me to handle it?
Which one?
The resolution for Old Crampon that
It's not on here.
no, it's not on here.
No, it's on here. I think we took it off, right?
No, that Pat sent over. She sent it to you.
I haven't reviewed it. I have to look at it.
All right, can you review it while we go through these others? So we have a resolution to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with the County of Westchester for the town to provide transportation services. I'll take a motion on this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm requesting the town board that we lay aside the next resolution regarding the police vehicle. I want to get some clarity on exactly the type of vehicle that we're purchasing. There's some questions raised on that. We have been purchasing hybrids, and it doesn't specifically say this is a hybrid. So I'd like to just make sure, so maybe we can bring this back next week.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely, I agree with that.
So we'll table this one. All right, so then we will move on to appoint Luis Odar to the position of police officer in the town of Yorktown, effective July 13th. We will award the bid for T-shirts and uniforms to Printers Inc. LLC for the Parks and Rec Department. We'll authorize the comptroller to release the escrow deposit to American Custom Builders. We'll authorize, let's see here. We're going to lay aside this one as well. This is
Same thing.
same thing. It's connected. So we'll lay aside this SUV resolution. We will authorize the Yorktown Police Chief, Robert Noble, to attend the annual conference of International Association of the Chiefs of Police. We'll authorize the town clerk to advertise bid for grant writing services. We'll authorize the Highway Department to contract with Seal Coat USA on an emergency basis. And we'll authorize the town clerk to advertise bid for a tub grinder and shear. Make a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adam, your response on that other resolution?
Andiamo fuori.
The form of the I have no problem with the form of the resolution.
Okay. Are we? Do you feel comfortable allowing us to proceed?
Questo non è per la casa.
Based on the conversation we had
Okay,
previously.
then that's
no.
fine. All right.
Yeah,
So
well,
then with
we'll
that,
table
we
that.
have we'll table that one as well. So with that, if there's no other business, more, did I get everything?
Yeah, you got everything.
All right. Then we'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, Yorktown.
Good night,
Thank you.
Yorktown.
Good night, everyone.
Buonanotte.